listening to Sports and More with Chris and Thom.
Welcome back, folks. It's the guys with the faces for radio and the voices for a silent movie.
This is Sports and More with Chris and Thom. I am Chris.
And I am Thom.
I'm coming out with fire, and
And-
Thom's going peaceful tonight, guys.
I'm doing that like smooth jazz,
Yes.
and you're going right in with that rock and roll.
No, yeah, come with the rock and roll, man. We have sport. We have the sports to talk about, sir. The sports.
We have sports and more
Oh,
tonight.
the
and
more.
If you saw the post, the more. If you saw the post on Facebook, we are gonna get fired up. I'd used that fire emoji background too many times, so I had to use something different. Like I fired up, and spicy, and like I gotta get riled up. That's what we are. We're riled up.
Riled
tonight,
up,
man.
right? I mean, we're ready to rock and roll. I mean, especially with the first year, we have TB600 because Tom Brady is the first quarterback in NFL history, in the 101-year history of the NFL to throw for 600 touchdowns in the regular season, which happened this past Sunday, October 24th, with 6 seconds left in the first quarter. I mean, that's just some remarkable timing there. 600 with 6 seconds to go in the quarter. Pretty good timing there.
Beautiful.
Where the Gronkaneers were facing the Bad News Bears, a.k.a. the Chicago Bears, and Brady connected with Mike Evans for a 9-yard touchdown pass, and that was number 600. Just for some notes.
For the regular season.
For regular season. Regular season only. That's just only the regular season. He has way more than 600 with the postseason and everything, so it's insane.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, so second place all-time regular season is Drew Brees at 571. The second place among active QBs is one Aaron Rodgers at 427. Brady has...
Not even in the same ballpark.
I think Brady ended the game with 4 touchdowns, so he's at 602. So Brady's got 175 more touchdown passes than Aaron Rodgers does. It's insane.
Goodness.
And then just to add some drama to this, Mike Evans didn't realize it's number 600 and just had to give the ball to a fan in their front row. Which was hysterical because I was like, hang on a second. Romo and Nancy were like, hey, that's number 600. What's he doing? What's the heck is he doing? And so they showed after the break, they showed that the Buccaneer, team equipment manager, something like that, was negotiating with the fan to get the football back. And what ended up happening was the guy will receive a different game ball, a $1,000 gift card to the team store, and per Tom Brady, something really nice. And that's per Greg Allman of The Athletic, which I don't know what's something really nice. It could be lots of really nice things. But I can tell you one thing it is. It's what Tony Romo suggested live on the CBS broadcast. I don't know if he was boozed up or anything when he said this, but he suggested that the guy should have negotiated for a date with Gisele Bündchen. Yes, that's Tom Brady's wife. I can assure you that did not happen in the negotiations.
Yeah, I don't think the football was like to that level of importance. It's big, but I don't think he's gonna start renting out his wife.
Well, yeah, I know. And even though the football, according to Ken Golden of Golden Sports Auctioneers, the estimated value of that football is $500,000 on the open market. So the question is, whose side are you on? Because I saw on the Pat McAfee show, they were talking about this, that Twitter was fully on the side of the fan, that he should never give that ball up to Tom Brady. He should have held on to that football with his life and then sold it at auction for half $500,000. But Pat and the boys on the Pat McAfee show were saying, well, it's NFL history. You should give that ball back. It kind of just makes sense.
Right. I'm gonna be on that side because this is a piece of football history. So I think if you're a true fan of the game, you give the ball back, because you can then go let's say at some point down the road, this football gets donated to the Football Hall of Fame.
It will be, yeah,
and which it will be, and probably sooner than even just Brady retiring, but he can go into that museum anytime and say to his kids, say to his grandkids, I had that ball. I held that ball, and they had to come and get it from me.
yeah.
It's a story. But I think you can also go back to Derek Jeter's.
Yeah.
What was it, his 3,000th
3,000th hit, yeah, which was a home run.
3,000th hit that was a home run, and the guy, being a true Yankees fan and true Jeter fan, gave it back. And he was significantly compensated for it still. Not that that was the reason for it, but he said that the ball deserved to go to Jeter anyway. And so I think personally, I'm on the side of that this is something from Brady's career. He should have it, and he can decide what to do with it. Then, if he wants it to go in the hall, then he can put it there, or if he wants to keep it in his own collection and then donated his entire collection when ultimately his bust is up at the Hall of Fame, then maybe that's his decision. So I think ultimately my take on it though is that giving it back was the right thing.
Oh, I 100% agree. Now the $500,000 price tag makes it like a little bit harder, but he made the right decision. The only thing I would have done differently in the negotiations is I would have told the Bucks like equipment manager, I'm not going to negotiate with you. I'm going to negotiate with Brady himself. I want to hear what Thom.
Yes.
That's how I would. I want to talk to Thom and see what he wants to give me for this, not just the team stuff.
Right.
That would be my only
With
negotiating
the team, like, how about I sit down with Tom Brady, or I hand the ball off to him? I want to give it to him personally.
That would and then
that would have been cool.
That would be the only thing I would change.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, although in that situation, he's probably just like, kind of still in shock of the whole thing happening. So, no, I'm on your side there with that, man. I mean, that's still cool. I mean, that guy's gonna have a story for the rest of his life.
Absolutely.
He got the ball, had to worked with the team to get the ball back to them, and just the whole thing. And man, that's super cool.
Oh, absolutely. I like it. And some more fun facts about that 600 touchdowns. Per the Pat McAfee show, they had this like art, like background thing showing some cool stuff about it. And I noticed that they say that Tom Brady has more career touchdowns than 4 NFL franchises have in their career. Now, those franchises, what are they? The Carolina Panthers, founded in 1995. All right, so relatively new, but still, they've been around a bit. The Baltimore Ravens, founded in 1996. Yes, the Ravens are the original Browns franchise. But when the Browns moved to Baltimore to become the Ravens, the city of Cleveland fought with the NFL to keep all records in Cleveland. So when the Browns resurrected themselves in 99, all those stats are part of the Cleveland Browns franchise history. It's like they just got a 3-year hiatus is all that means. And then you have the Jacksonville Jaguars, founded in 95, like the Carolina Panthers, and then the Houston Texans, who were founded in 2002. Remember, everyone, Brady's first touchdown pass was in 2001. His career
20 years.
Yeah. His career is like 6 years shorter than the Panthers and the Jaguars franchises. He's been in the league longer than the Texans have existed. He's been in the league.
Insane.
Yeah. I mean, he's been in the league since 2000, but he didn't really play in 2000. He has 3 career passes, 3 passes in that season. So it doesn't really matter, but he's been in the NFL starting longer than the Texans have been an NFL organization. Think about that, people.
Then when you hear a stat like that and the timing of it, you completely understand how he has more touchdown passes than the entire organization.
Oh, the Texans,
because the Texans anyway. Because we've seen the Texans have struggled to put it nicely, and Tom Brady, they've had struggles anyway, and Tom Brady has been
not struggling,
super successful and not struggled. There's not he does not drive the struggle bus.
No.
So to see it and kind of think of it that way, like, yeah, he's been a lot more successful than the Texans, so it kind of makes sense. Like, he's been able to put more on the board.
Yeah, I mean, I'm surprised the Bears were on the list with how bad we look. I mean, I'm pretty sure we haven't thrown 600 passes ever, but apparently we have. I don't know how they've calculated that.
Well, we got like another 60, 70 years on some folks. So.
Well, we've been around since 1920, so I was like, well, you would hope by that time we've collected 600 passing touchdowns. You'd hope, but it's hard to tell.
80 years on Brady there.
So. It's hard to tell, though, with how bad the team looks at times, that we have more passing touchdowns. So I had to throw that in there for us Bears fans, because I saw them like, are we sure we have more than Tom Brady? I'm not so sure about that one. So anyway, there's your fantastic Tom Brady stat of the day. we could probably do this for like another year and still have amazing Tom Brady stats for you guys. But this is just the latest one to happen. We'll probably have another one in about February if he wins number 8. So we'll see how that plays out. We're going to go into MLB standings. Well, Tom has some NFL standings. Sorry. Well, Tom has some fun trying to find out how many Bears sections there are in history. I have a hard time finding that stat, by the way. It was nearly impossible.
Yeah.
It's not
because right now I'm looking at like it gives you like the leader in the Bears franchise history with most touchdown passes, which is a pathetic 154.
Is that like Jay Cutler?
2009 to 2016. So yeah, that has to be Cutler.
Yep. Think about that. Think about that, people.
Yeah, that's passing touchdowns. Jay Cutler. He has all the passing.
Yep.
Records. He's got yards, completions, attempts, and touchdowns.
He's statistically the greatest quarterback in Bears history.
And statistically, Mitchell Trubisky has the greatest completion percentage in Bears history.
Yep.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
At 64%.
Yep.
64.1%. Sorry, I don't want to go down this rabbit hole, but oh lordy, that's sad. That's sad, man. All right, move on before I I have the big sad right now.
Yeah,
just
so
looking at
NFL
this.
standings, as you see the bottom of your screen in the ticker, that you can see how the games back are going. In the NFC North, that evil green and yellow team that hails from Green Bay, Wisconsin, is up 2.5 on the Minnesota Vikings. Are we shocked? No, but we had to let you know that's going on. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers hold a 1.5 lead over the Saints, who still look to be a very good football team, despite having Jameis 30 for 30 Winston as their quarterback. I mean, it could just be that the NFC is weak outside of a few top-tier teams, but they are still looking pretty good. In the NFC East, the Cowboys, who had a bye, are still in first at 5-1, while the rest of the division is at 2-5. So they have a monster 3.5 game lead over everybody in that division. In the NFC West, the Cardinals at 7-0, undefeated, should easily be the best team in the NFC West. Only have a game lead on the Rams because the Rams' only loss is to those very same Cardinals. In the AFC North, again, this is not a drill, people. The Cincinnati Bengals are in first place after thrashing the Ravens in a surprising fashion that Tom and I both looked at that score and said, something's not right here. The Bengals dominated that game from start to finish. And it was a shock.
Can I just say that with that loss, I lost twice because, all right, I was facing off with you this week in fantasy football.
It's fantastic.
So not only did I lose the pick'em from last week, I also did not get any help from the Ravens defense because I started the Ravens defense, who got me -2 points. Major WTF moment. Just like, why? Yeah. And also, just a side note, I am benching Pat Mahomes the rest of the season.
We'll get to that later.
I could have had another like 50 or 60 points this week if I had.
That wouldn't have helped you. I looked at.
I know. It still wouldn't have helped because the Ravens defense really just sucked it up. But anyway, the Ravens kind of disappointed me last week. Not gonna lie, but the Bengals were impressive to say the least.
The Ravens disappointed me as just a football fan. I'm forever grateful for what they did because it helps me get that win in fantasy football. But another stat for you guys: the Bengals are now the 1 seed in the AFC. They are the 1 seed because, well, they have the best record, or tied for the best record, and there's a 3 circle of death, and they have the 1 seed. Who's also tied for that top spot? The Tennessee Titans at 5-2, who have just steamrolled everybody of late. They steamrolled the Bills. They steamrolled the Chiefs. I mean, the Chiefs look sorry, like a high school football team, for goodness sakes. And the Titans are where we thought they would be when we started the season, but they looked rather bad. So Tom and I backed off them. But we did pick them to win the South, and they're now looking like the team we thought we were picking rather than what we saw in weeks 1 through 3. In the AFC East, the Bills had a bye, which did not help me on in another fantasy football league, but they still hold first place at 4-2 with a 1.5 lead over the Patriots, who dropped a 50-piece on the Jets for the first time since the Rich Kotite era of the New York Jets. Look that up, people. The Rich Kotite era was awful, and the Jets have been awful before. In the AFC West, you have the Raiders. the John Greenless Raiders at 5-2 with a half-game lead over the Chargers, who had a bye, so that's why it's the Raiders in first, not the Chargers, because of a bye week. So in the AFC right now, think about this, people. Number 1 seed, Bungles. Number 2 seed, Raiders. Number 3 seed, Titans. Bills and Chiefs are not in the top 3 right now. Bills had a bye, so you can excuse them for that, but they would still be the 4 seed because they lost to the Titans. Think about that, people. The Bills and Chiefs are not in the top 3 in the AFC as of right now. Could that change? Maybe, but the way the Chiefs defense looks, which is 32nd out of 32 teams in about every defensive category to put out there, I don't think so. I don't know the Chiefs make the playoffs right now. Hot take, but I don't think the Chiefs make the playoffs this year with how bad that defense is.
I'm going to agree with you there. It's been kind of abysmal to watch, and I mean, it's not impressive. It's like a completely different team.
Yeah.
That's what I kind of go to is it's like they graduated everyone.
Yeah.
And now they just suck.
Oh, and their O-line's bad.
They're starting over, yeah. and they didn't. It's not obviously it's not in college where you lose everybody over there, but it's like it's like they've started over and are in the middle of a rebuilding season when they
brought back everybody.
The offseason didn't show that. Yeah, the offseason didn't show that. No. So what changed between February and now?
No idea. I mean, they spent $105 million on that O-line in the offseason to make it better. It looks worse than it did in the Super Bowl. It's hard to say that, but they brought in like 3 Pro Bowlers, and it made the offensive line worse. I don't know how you can do that. Whoever is the O-line coach needs to either be fired. I'm not saying that we should ever talk about firing people, but someone needs to talk to him about saying, hey, you're kind of sucking right now with this O-line thing. And maybe the offensive play call of Bieniemy and Reid needs to be looked at because it looks like they forgot that there's this thing called running the dang football again, and that could be hurting the offense. Just saying, people, you can run the football. The Bears may not know how to throw the football, but we can dang sure run that football at least and make something good happen.
Something's got to change there, man. That's what we're seeing right now. I don't know what they got to do. They got to do a lot. Yeah. I mean, you can't be brought down just to 1 or 2 points, but they've got to do something different. And unfortunately for them, because I mean, I do like Pat Mahomes and his approach to the game, and so it's unfortunate for a guy like him who has been so successful and has a lot of talent to have a season like this. So we can hope the next year they bounce back, but it ain't happening this year.
Yeah, hopefully this isn't a Joe Flacco situation where he has a few good years and all of a sudden he becomes a below average quarterback, which would be dreadful for the Chiefs. For $500 million, Pat Mahomes becomes just a guy on the football field. That would be a horrible situation. I don't think that's the case. I think it's a lot more wrong than Patrick Mahomes, but we will see in due course. So that leads us out of the NFL standings and into baseball. Woo! And World Series update. Yeah. The World Series began tonight. It's actually happening right now during the show as we're recording.
I'm going to get a score update for us.
Yep. It is on Tuesday, October 26th, 7:09 Central Standard Time, the greatest time zone in the land on Fox. And we have the Houston Astericks versus the Atlanta Braves. What's the score update, sir?
The Braves are leading 5-0 in the top of the third. They are hot Atlanta for sure tonight. Jorge Soler starting off the game with a leadoff home run. You are doing well when that happens. I am all about the Chiefs, or not the Chiefs, the Braves right now.
Ex-Cub, who the Cubs got rid of because they had nowhere. They had nowhere in the outfield for this guy because we had Schwarber, we had Happ, we had Almora, we had Hayward, and it looks like a very, very, very bad decision by Theo Epstein right now that he kind of cost the Cubs a championship.
Not that he cares.
Not that he cares. Yeah, he did all the first World Series in 108 years, but the World Series window was a year instead of 5, like it should have been. But not going to be better. Won a World Series. Never thought I would see one lifetime. But still, I thought we had a 5-year window, not a 2-year window.
Exactly.
All right. So how did we get here with the Asterix and the Braves? The Asterix, as we said before, dominated the White Sox in a 4-game series, 3-1. It was what we would call a gentleman's sweep in the world of baseball. And then they steamrolled the Red Sox. Yes, I know it's a 6-game series. They won it 4-2. But if you look at the games outside of the games like 2 and 3 where the Red Sox won, it was Astros. It was the Astericks all the way. It wasn't close.
Mm-hmm.
And then we go to the hot Atlanta Braves, who won a 3-1 series with the Brewers. It sounds like the Braves won easy, but if you look at the box scores, those games were not decided by more than 3 runs at all, which is our tight baseball games. And then they went against the vastly superior Dodgers, a team that won 107 games in the regular season. Were the 4 seed because the Giants won 108 games in the regular season, and the Braves essentially dismantled them, partially due to bad managerial skills by Dave Roberts, who did not use his pitching staff at all in that series. It was a cluster mess when you watch it. Like, the heck is this guy doing here? The heck is he doing here? It's like he forgot how to put up a pitching staff. And maybe, just maybe, the Braves are running hot because they're on a revenge tour against the MLB for taking the All-Star game out of Atlanta. So that's what's going on. And Tom, how do you feel about this World Series matchup?
I love the matchup, and I love even more that the Braves are taking it to the Astericks right now, and showing the MLB their decision earlier this year did not just we're not fans of it, and there were repercussions of it. That was jobs and revenue and income for businesses all around Atlanta that was lost, and now this is kind of the Braves' big middle finger to the MLB to say, hey, you know what? We're bringing the World Series here instead, so you guys can suck it. And honestly, I hope that they win it at home, if possible. That would just be even better. Just like all of that commotion happening right there. But I'd love to see a clean sweep personally. Just knowing how we feel about Houston. And the history there, I want to see the Braves all the way.
Yeah, I would agree with you 100%. I'm on the Braves train. I think both these are kind of giving the middle finger, as you would, to the MLB Asterix with the cheating scandal. They're saying, all right, you think we can only win by cheating? Watch this. And the Braves are like, oh, you want to steal the All-Star game from us? Watch this. It's kind of like the Tom Brady Deflategate tour, where Tom Brady went on a show that season and just said, oh, yeah, you think I can't win? I only won with the footballs? Watch me do this. Do all these guys. So it's kind of like both these are in that mindset, which makes for a great baseball.
Well, isn't it funny? I think I heard that somewhere that the Red Sox, or at least the Red Sox fans, are already claiming cheating again by the Asterix.
Which is ironic because the Red Sox cheated too. The very next season.
So, I mean, there's yeah. So, matchup like this, I want to see just a brutal pounding by the Braves. That's what I want every game. I want a 5+ run differential every game.
I mean, I want the Braves to win one because they're a National League team, because I'm a big National League guy where we need the pitchers hitting. Sorry, pitchers, I want you to actually stand in the plate, and if you plunk someone, be prepared to get plunked back. So be prepared to deal with the consequences of your own actions. And 2, because of this whole MLB All-Star Game situation, I'm for the Braves. I know they're trying to take away the Braves job, which, again, not to say it does not offend people in the Native American community, but as a fan watching it, that's intimidating to see the tomahawk chop from 60,000 people is intimidating as an outside fan. It's like, oh my gosh, this is not a place I want to be in right now.
Right.
A little bit scary.
So, yep. And no, I know a couple of Braves fans out there. So you guys are going to be pretty happy tonight, and hopefully for the next week.
Absolutely. So there's your World Series update. We're right now in the middle of Game 1. We'll probably give you updates throughout the night. We only have a few topics left to go, but it's a big one coming up. So, Tom, why don't you take away that story? Because this is a story that you know a lot more about than I do, and you're very much more passionate about than I potentially am.
Right. And when I heard this one, I was both equally shocked and, sad and just a whirlwind of emotions, but also, I mean, we haven't actually talked about this. We've sent a few messages back and forth, but last Thursday, October 21st, um, and I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of the name, but Helena Hutchins was killed on set by Alec Baldwin, per Amanda Prestigiacomo.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
procedure code.
of the Daily Wire. Prestigiacomo. Yeah. All right. Sorry. I apologize for that. Um, while filming the movie Rust, which was an indie film, um, co-produced by Alec Baldwin. They were shooting out in. They were filming out in New Mexico.
Yeah.
So October 21st, actor and co-producer Alec Baldwin shot and killed cinematographer Halyna Hutchins, and with that same shot, wounded director Joel
That was
Souza.
the second shot. That was two shots were discharged.
There was two
Two
shots.
shots, yes.
I didn't know if that was confirmed.
Yeah, it was confirmed.
No, that was okay because I
court
heard
documents.
court documents because I heard separately that it was a through and through, and then okay.
Court
Well,
documents, yeah.
Regardless, um, shot and wounded. In addition to that, Joel Souza while on the film set for Rust. So, according to those court documents that Chris referenced, Baldwin was told that he was handed a cold gun, and I actually have an update on this one as well.
All right, go ahead.
Before firing at the camera, striking Hutchins and Souza. That is
Stupidity.
okay. So stupidity. But here's what makes this worse. He was not handed that gun.
Oh, really?
Allegedly, no. He picked it up himself, from what has been told.
Oh, jeez.
They were between. This was not in a live take.
Yeah.
This was between takes, and in fact, Baldwin wanted to be done for the day, and the director insisted that they continue filming, continue shooting was his verbiage, allegedly, and then Baldwin then again allegedly stated, "Why don't I just effing shoot the both of you?" and picked up the supposed prop gun and fired the shots at while pointing directly at the cinematographer and the director, not realizing that there were live rounds in there. And I'm going to get to that in just a second here. So, cold gun, as it's been referred to in several documents, several articles, is refers to a gun without live or lethal ammunition. So that would be that there is no ammo in it, that there are dummy rounds, which are essentially just plastic, and there is no gunpowder, there is no projectile, there is no way for anything to be fired out of the gun. Or three, they are blanks, which is essentially just the brass case crimped at the end, only containing gunpowder. Basically, it just shoots a fireball. It's just the bang. It's just for effect and sound. That's it. There's no projectile with any one of those three options. And on a movie set, there should never be live ammunition. Only those three options should be taking place on set. There should be nothing live anywhere. Okay. Live rounds somehow made it into this firearm, and that's not good.
No.
In the live round, I know that we have in the notes that it's not clear that the live round was real ammunition. I'm going to tell you right now it was, because for the effects that this had on the individuals, this was not a prop gun. A prop gun does not have the ability to fire live rounds. A prop gun does not have the ability to even probably shoot blanks. There are some guns that are modified to only shoot blanks, But then there are those that are modified to shoot blanks and live rounds. A prop gun does not have an actual firing mechanism. It is for visuals only. A prop gun is probably rubber,
Yep.
or basically a painted BB gun. That obviously there's nothing there.
Yep.
So I'm going to tell you right now, he picked up a live gun. Um, and this is where I'm going to step in with some notes that
Go ahead.
you don't have, Chris.
No, go ahead. 'Cause I
A
didn't
lot
have
of
my.
this,
Yeah.
some of this falls on the head armorer,
Mhm.
um, for the movie, and that was 24-year-old Hannah Reid, daughter of longtime prop armorer, movie armorer Thel Reid, who had only had one other head armorer position on a movie prior to this. Um, there were multiple occasions on this movie set, supposedly, that um, resulted in accidental discharges. And an accidental discharge is an inadvertent pull of the trigger resulting in the firing of um, a cartridge. Now, we don't know whether those were live rounds that were shot at, the ground, the air, whatever, or if those were blanks that went off. But regardless, um, the gun went off, or a gun went off twice, and it was to the point where the crew earlier in that day, the day of this event on October 21st, walked out. And the reason they did this, it was over firearm safety. Hannah Reid even out explicitly stated she did not know how to load blanks into guns and was scared to do so. These are not live rounds, yet she did not know how to, and being around guns her entire life, being the daughter of an armorer, did not know how to load blanks. If you do not know how to load blanks, you should not be an armorer or a lead armorer
Not at all.
on a set. Because if you do not know how to load blanks, you cannot be trusted to only load blanks. That is why, at this point, blame could be placed on her as well, because she has shown signs of incompetence with firearms. And so that was one of the things that I saw. I'm like, uh, okay, now I understand how it happened, how that got there. They did not have a competent head um, armor on set. That should not happen.
Right.
And in any other set, this has never happened in Hollywood. This has never happened on a set where live ammunition has actually made it on set. It does not happen.
No.
So that, and honestly, all right, I do want to take a second just say that I feel bad for the families that are affected by this. Hutchins was a wife, a mother, um, and Souza now is going to be physically and mentally, or not, but emotionally traumatized by this event, being shot. Um, but let's not also forget Alec Baldwin. Yes, this was a horrible thing that shouldn't have happened, but he's going to have to live with this
Oh,
the
yeah.
rest of his life. Um, and based on an op-ed piece by um, Alan Dershowitz,
Mm-hmm.
who has defended Mike Tyson, Jeffrey Epstein, President Donald Trump, says that this likely constitutes a homicide on the case,
Yeah.
but does not know who would be criminally, and that's the key word. There's criminally responsible, and what degree of homicide fits with the evidence that's provided. What I can tell you is that I think it's Andrew Stoltman, who's a lawyer out of Chicago, stated that Alec Baldwin he needs to obviously take time to grieve and to process, having done this himself, but also needs to prepare for a trial,
Oh yeah.
because given that he was the one with the gun in hand, this could be considered manslaughter as well.
Oh
And if
yeah.
you look at any case, any case of even self-defense or home defense, anything like that, if I'm defending my home and I shoot an intruder and kill him, I'm still going to jail.
Yeah.
So that's something that district attorneys and they don't take lightly and will likely pursue. And so that's I think something that now he needs to switch his focus. Like it's a tragic mistake that happened and it should never have happened. But both he and Hannah Reid need now to prepare to be on trial because it's very possible and that they could end up there. And given what we have seen in several occasions, several articles, most of which that I have seen from Breitbart News, but also those of the New York Post and um, others, just everybody's doing a piece on this right now. They all say the same thing that this is going to end up with a trial in a trial. But it's obviously clear that Alec Baldwin was not aware that he was firing a gun that would fire a projectile. Because, I mean, in his career, and he's had several roles, I'm thinking Mission Impossible, where he had guns and everything. It's probably never happened. It should have never happened, and I've never heard of it ever happening.
No, neither.
So it's not likely that he would ever um, have seen that. He does, as a producer, have responsibilities on set, but that does not necessarily mean that he oversaw safety.
Right.
But that given said, let's switch back to Hannah Reid. Right. She should have been over safety.
Yes.
And all 4 rules of firearm safety were broken in this incident. So I'm going to go through those 4 rules of firearm safety before we continue.
Go ahead.
First of all, and this is, of course, just ignoring the fact that there should have never been live ammo at all on set. First rule of firearm safety is treat every gun as if it is loaded until you have visually and physically inspected to confirm otherwise. And I'm going to do that for you now. Okay? This is my gun. Okay? Drop the magazine, nothing in the magazine. Rack the slide back. You can see nothing in the chamber. And I can put my finger in there and there is no round. I now know that it is clear. Okay? Picking that up off the table, with few exceptions, you cannot 100% confirm that there is nothing in that gun until you have visually and physically inspected otherwise. That is rule number 1. Treat every gun as if it is loaded. Alec Baldwin did not. Rule number 2, do not point the muzzle of the gun, and that is the end of the gun where the bullets come out of, at anything you are not willing to destroy. And that is the actual verbiage of firearm safety by the NRA. Do not point the gun at anything you are not willing to destroy. He pointed it at 2 people. Things can be replaced. You still should not point it at things that you're not willing to destroy, but people especially. Number 3, excuse me, 1 second. Be sure of your target and what is to the left, right, and beyond it. He was pointing it around, and who knows how many people he flagged or pointed the muzzle at in the process of shooting this. Okay? And number 4. Oh, goodness. Oh, gosh. Give me a second here. Oh, man. I'm blanking. This is bad. This is my thing.
Yeah, this is your thing. This is not my thing, people. I'm the guy of the sword and learning of the archery. I'm not the gun guy. I am of the sword in preference.
Oh, well, of course. I thought I covered this one already. Sorry. Keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to shoot.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry, I thought I covered that with the safety instructions. Sorry, that's why I was screwed up. I'm like, I thought I mentioned it in the other one. Keep your finger outside of the trigger guard and off the trigger until you're ready to fire. With that, kind of going back to um, ready to destroy whatever is downrange. So broke all four in the process of um, this just careless incident, whether it has live ammunition or not. If it has blanks, if it has dummy rounds, if it has nothing in it, until every one of those have been confirmed, or still you have visually, physically inspected that there is nothing live in the gun, you still shouldn't point a blank gun
Right.
at someone because it's still expelling an explosion pretty much out of the barrel of the gun. It's still you're still like if you're within a couple of feet, you're still going to burn them with the gases.
Mm-hmm.
So there should never be a reason to. So that's what I keep going back to is like people might say, well, what if it had blanks? What if it didn't have anything in it? What if it was empty? He didn't know that.
Right.
So that's what I keep going back to. And yes, I'm sorry that I messed up on that last one. But I mean that's the biggest one is he pulled the trigger.
Mm-hmm.
That's the biggest thing. So, and I know that you all probably thought that when I turned the gun around to show on camera that this was clear that I was pointing it at myself. I had safety checked this before I picked it up. So just so you're not aware, and the keyboard warriors aren't going to troll me here. I had safety checked this before, so I knew what I was getting into. But that is the only way of knowing that there's nothing in there. He did none of that, and lives were lost for it. So there's so much wrong with this, and so much that shouldn't have happened. I don't want to say that there will or will not be charges pressed, but if there are, Reid and Hannah Reid and both Alec Baldwin could be held responsible, and Reid because of the supplement of the supplying of the materials and the equipment, and Alec Baldwin for the blatant mistreatment of what he believed to be props. It doesn't in the world of firearms and homicide and or manslaughter, whatever you want to call it. Claiming ignorance is not a thing.
No.
I mean, even just with general gun laws, you could be crossing state lines, carrying a firearm or carrying somewhere that you shouldn't, and claim ignorance. So I didn't know that I wasn't supposed to have this or have that. It doesn't matter. It's the law, and if you're going to be handling anything that could even potentially be butting up against that law, you should be aware of it. And this is no different. Even though this was an accident, a mistake, he is still the one that was holding it when it happened, and still the one that pulled the trigger. So unfortunately for everyone involved, truly, this is just never something that you want to see anywhere, but especially with the effect that it happened, or that it had. It's really just sad, and I'm just going to be honest. I'm thankful that this has not gone to a gun control debate, because that gun, while it should never have had live ammo in it, it did, and it did nothing until a person picked it up. And so that's what this came down to, is a person or multiple people made decisions that led to the results that we saw. And our hearts go out for the Hutchins family, because this is, a life was taken far too soon.
My initial thoughts when I read through the story and listening to your information was like this. Like, even before you gave us the gun safety demonstration, thank you for that, sir. Because as a non-gun user, I was like, all right, basic safety counseling. You should make sure the gun's empty. You probably shouldn't point at anyone, and you probably shouldn't be pulling that trigger. I was like, I think I had like most of those like thought of like in my head.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, this sounds like basic information that should be followed. And then I
Hmm.
read some stuff on sets and like on sets, even when they're doing like the shooting scenes in movies, they're typically not shooting. Their guns not being pointed at anybody. It's usually being pointed
Hmm.
off camera. It's not being pointed towards
Right.
anybody. Even when they're shooting for movies, they're trying to follow that. Even with blinks or dummy runs or
Hmm.
whatever they're using, they're trying to follow that because you never know what might happen. And so it's like
Right.
it's clear. I read like, oh boy, this sounds bad. He's probably going to get prosecuted, which is probably the least of his concerns at this point in time. He's probably more distraught over the loss of the cinematographer and just the culpability of his actions. But I read that, and I read what Alan Dershowitz and Andrew Branca said, and I'm like, they're seriously not going to say he's at fault at all. There's a chance that he's going to get away and just be held like just as an accident. Like that doesn't sound right in my mind.
Even and and yeah, it's an accident, but it would be more of an accident had he picked it up and accidentally put his finger in the trigger guard
Right.
and pulled the trigger. It's less of an accident given the circumstance, and this
Oh yeah.
is at this point still hearsay,
Mm-hmm.
so we cannot confirm or deny that that was the case, but um, given the statements made and the actions taken directly leading up to the event, there is you can no longer claim this as an accident. I think at bare minimum this, and of course I am no lawyer. This could constitute as involuntary
Yep.
manslaughter because obviously the intent was not
No.
there.
Absolutely.
But what he stated and what he did by saying, "Why don't I just shoot the both of you?" Probably in a joking manner in his mind, but then picking up the gun and pointing it at them. Just those two things happening, and then the event, the result right there, and then it doesn't look good.
No.
And that's
It
all I
does
gotta
not.
say.
No, I would agree. I was
No.
like, oh, this is just it seems like a very bad, tough scenario for anyone to be in, and it's like, and it didn't have to even be in the situations where if you don't take your safety into account, you don't do your due diligence with deadly weapons. I mean, any weapon on
Yeah.
set is typically a deadly weapon. I know I talk about on the big sword guy, but swords on set are still, yes, they're used for show. They're not necessarily the sharpest blades, but those things can still hurt and kill someone if you use it incorrectly and you don't do your training and you act like an
Hmm.
idiot. So, which is why they do daters. Usually, I know, like even with Star Wars, I want to bring up Star Wars. They weren't using real swords. I know. Trust me, people. I know. I'm getting to it. But they did hours and hours and hours of training to get the footwork right and all the moves right, so they can do all the stunts and everything accurately and safely, so no one gets hurt. I mean, it's no less that the same way with guns, where you have to make sure you practice that safety every time you pick up that gun. You can't just say, "Oh,
Yep.
someone says it's blank, it's cold, it's fine." You have to make sure. Hey, I'm going to make sure myself. Is there anything in this? Is there live ammo? But
Yep. And yeah, I think that some movies that do movie sets, I should say, that have done a great job of that, and actors, um, Keanu Reeves
yeah. Oh, he's fantastic.
and the John Wick
He.
franchise actually trained
Yeah.
out in California
Yes.
with Terran Tactical,
He's fantastic.
and so they were doing like real running and gunning and things like that. And I think even I want to say that uh, several other actors have been out at doing that training there personally. Um, but leading up to the really cool tactical
Yeah.
kind of run and gun and sort of stuff, the fight scene sort of stuff, and running around, there is hours of safety training and basics. There's a reason that the NRA basic pistol class is primarily classroom safety
Yeah.
education. Like when I took that, I mean, I'm fairly certain it was, well, and actually, as a part of my concealed carry class, the whole first day we didn't pick up guns
Yeah.
until the very end. It's all safety. And so, yeah, I think the John Wick franchise and Terran Tactical, they did a great job of prepping for that movie. But then also, just on an individual basis, Will Smith, very aware of gun safety. Um, as a matter of fact, I don't know what movie they were preparing for, but they were checking out the prop guns, And someone on his crew picked one up and started kind of waving it around just kind of mishappily. He grabbed it, by the top of the slide, so nowhere near the trigger guard. Dropped the mag, racked the slide, checked it himself, and then put it back together once he knew that it was clear.
Yeah.
So he like just instinctively did that. So there are people who do it right. I'm not going to say that Hollywood is the problem.
No,
There are people
not
who
saying
do
that.
it right. This is an individual, isolated event. Obviously, this is not a trend. This is an isolated event, and it should not happen again. It shouldn't have happened to begin with. It shouldn't happen again. But man, it makes me just upset just to see that there's this blatant disregard for safety.
Yeah.
Whether a life was taken or not, just the fact that happened the way that it did, just man, makes my stomach turn.
Yeah, everything you hear over there, you're like, couldn't this be stopped? Couldn't something be done? Yes, they could have followed safety guidelines that almost every other film says follows. I mean, it's kind of like there's a reason why we have only heard of this happen. I think there's research that showed this only happened 3 other times in like Hollywood history where someone's been shot and killed on set. And like this, it's only been done 3 times, and there's a reason why it's only happened 3 times. It's because those 3 times people did something stupid. Quite frankly, that's the only thing you can say. Yeah. Someone or multiple people did something stupid. That's the only thing you can say at that point. So
exactly. So and I think where this leads now is an intensive investigation. So we will this won't be the end of it. We'll hear more. We'll see more about it. And there will be repercussions for these actions down the road. I do want to say that there's a YouTube channel, Brandon Herrera, who he does a lot of. He's known as the AK guy in YouTube gun community, but he does what he calls gun meme reviews, and he took a little bit lighter approach to it. More, there was a lot of people online making fun of Alec Baldwin for this. Maybe a little bit too soon for that. So there were some fun things that he talked about with that, but then in the middle of it, he talked a lot about what went wrong, what should have been done, things like that. If you want to check that out, just search for Brandon Herrera gun meme review, and it's the most recent one because he kind of lays it out eloquently, of what went wrong, what should have happened, condolences to the families involved, but then also there's some elements that are some dark humor that he throws in there. So if that's your thing, go check it out. I checked it out just because that was the thumbnail and the headline and everything. A little bit darker than my usual take, but the content of proper takes, proper actions was on point.
Yeah.
So I do want to point that out there.
All right, so that's the Alec Baldwin, Helena Hutchins situation. Homicide, another word for it. It is a murder of a human being. Whether it's criminally or not, that is the definition. Sorry, guys, I couldn't think of a better word for it. Accidental manslaughter, but it is a tough situation. We will see what comes out in the legal system and in further review of this, what other facts are known. But let's go on to a lighter subject, Tom. Let's go on to our Week 8 game of the week, and we'll highlight this game, and I will give you who we have. We have the evil green and yellow team, the Hails from Green Bay, Wisconsin, at 6-1. Their only loss of the year coming against the New Saints in Week 1, where Tom and I thought they were dead. They weren't going to be good, and well, boy, were we wrong. And and then the Arizona Cardinals, who are 7-0, who we said probably going to be the number 4 seed in the NFC West. And boy, were we wrong about that one because
we were so wrong.
Because we thought because the Cardinals started off good last year, and then they tapered off. But the Seahawks are just a dumpster fire, and the Niners are a dumpster fire. So heck of a shot out there, and we'll let Tom pick because he unfortunately picked the Ravens, and the Ravens did the deserve of not showing up, even though by all imaginations I won the Ravens for that game as well. So I was just strong when I got the Bungles, and it turns out I was kind of lucky on that one. So I got the coin because you had to call in the air. It's your standard coin of heads and tails, so I can do the flip for Tom. and he can call it before I
All
flip
right.
it because it's kind of hard to do with recording people, especially with
Yeah,
potato
I'm going
internets.
tails.
You want tails?
Right, especially the potato. I'm going tails.
All right, here you go. Flip. Kept on the table this time, and it is tails, senor. Right there, the tails.
I I hope it's gonna help me this time. Um,
Oh, please don't do it. Please
this
don't
is
do
a
it.
tough one.
Please don't
This
do it.
is the tough one. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do
No,
it, man.
no, 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 don't do it. Don't do it. Don't make me. Don't do it to me. Don't do it to me. I'm telling you, don't do
I'm
it to
taking
me.
the Cardinals.
No!
I'm taking the Cardinals
Don't do it to me.
for many reasons, not the least of which
No.
would leave Chris with the Packers. Alrighty. But the Cardinals are averaging 32.1 points per game on offense, which is the fourth best in the NFL, and then they're averaging 16.3 points per game on defense, which is the best in the NFL, and average net point differential of 15.8 points. I mean that's per game. Yeah, so that's huge. And the line is currently listed as Cardinals by 6, so I'm taking it. I mean, we've got a very fast-paced, high-producing offense. A lot of weapons that are all clicking right now, and then that defense, obviously the best in the NFL for a reason right now. They are dominant, especially up front. They've been locked down, and that secondary is hard to beat. So I'm going Cardinals. And you had to see this was coming.
I knew it was coming. I was hoping you'd lose the coin toss. But I leaned on my morals to give you the honest. It was tails. I didn't want to lie to you and steal it that way. So I'm stuck.
You could have.
With the evil green and yellow team. I will still not call them by their name. I am not Tom who likes to just throw it out there at random like it's some funny joke of a name. They are averaging 24.
It is a joke when you end up having to pick them, though.
I am not picking them. I am left with them. I did not pick them. I want to make that very clear. I've made this argument before on other theological topics with discussing this is the same thing. I did not pick them. I was left with this decision. With this non-decision, I was voluntold this is my team.
You were voluntold.
I was voluntold this is my team. And the evil green yellow team are averaging 24 points per game on offense. Yes, it doesn't help. They only scored 3 points in week 1, so it looks worse than it probably is, which is 9th best in the NFL, still top 10. They are allowing 20.9 points per game on defense, 9th best in the NFL. Again, looks worse than it probably is because of that first game where they lost 38-3. Right. And their net point differential is 3.1 per game. Again, take out that first game, which is probably the biggest fluke of a game I've ever seen in my life based on the rest of their season. And their point differential is 9.8 points per game. So it's closer to that 10 point margin victory mark. The evil green yellow team is a team I need to win in order to win this week. I want them to lose by at least 50 points. I don't care if it costs me the win. I do not want them to win. I never want them to win unless it helps the Bears in some stretch of the imagination, which them losing would not, because that means Nagy and Pace would get to stick hanging on to their jobs for another week, and I'd want them out ASAP as possible. Yes, I'm calling Michael Gary Scott.
Yes, Michael Gary Scott. Even though we will be without Nagy potentially for this week because of the coup.
Hey, team might play better for all we know. Team might play better without him around. Just
if they play better without him, Ryan Pace has to connect the dots there.
Oh,
Let's just be honest. He's got to say like, okay, wow, we outscored by 37 points. I wonder what the common factor is.
I mean, we've only scored. I think this is the 14th time in the last 3 seasons the Bears have not. My bad. The 13th time in 3 years the Bears have not scored 14 points in a game. It's been, the offense is horrible. It's horrendously bad. And so, sorry, back on the Bears. So I'm stuck with the evil green yellow team, Morgan's team. So I'm stuck with that team, and she's probably going to be ecstatic when you tell her that Chris has to cheer for evil green yellow team to win the game of the week.
You're not going to cheer for them, though. You're not going to cheer for them. That's the thing. Is like I can't say, oh, Chris has to cheer for them, because you're not.
No.
Deep down, you can't.
I can't. I will not do it. I refuse. I want them to lose all 17 games. Gosh darn it! I don't care how.
Oh man, I really hope the rest of the season is mine then.
Yeah.
We're not doing victory speeches like we did
No, we
last year,
haven't been
but
doing that, so we haven't had time. We've only been doing one show a week, so we.
we've only been doing one show a week, man.
Yeah,
And yeah,
no.
that's
So sorry, guys.
it. Well, I can't make more than one a week happen right now. It's
No,
life is busy.
he's got 2 kids. People, his life is kind of like there is no time, and I'm just like, all right, whenever you're available, let me know. We'll make this work.
Right, yeah, because we're doing this on a Tuesday instead of our normal Monday, because of my schedule.
I,
Just
I,
had
I,
to let him know, like, hey,
to use the phrase I accidentally made up for single fellows, I have bachelor activities every day of the week, which means I've got nothing to do. Which means I've got nothing to do.
which means
I got nothing to do but play video games and watch TV. That's all I got to do on my schedule. So unless I'm told, hey, we're going to record that I'm free this day, I have no plans outside of me fooling around on OBS and figure out some new things to try.
So what you're saying is I am your plans.
Pretty much, you tell me what I need to do, then I will make the plans. So that's the bachelor activities.
Oh, now I feel like I need to make more plans. So
Like,
anyway, um, we will. That's it for our game of the week. We'll have another one coming at you, probably maybe early next week. I know that we're accountants. We have month end close next week, so don't know when that's going to happen.
But we also have
I'll talk to you after the show. I'll talk to you after the show. We might have some busier times coming ahead.
And we also have a wedding we have to go to this weekend with the Waldeck. He's getting married this weekend.
The Waldeck.
So we're gonna be a little bit out of touch.
Getting hitched.
Yeah, getting hitched. We're at, so I don't know if I'm giving a speech or not yet, folks. I've not been told that. I will find out.
He hasn't told you yet?
No, I have no idea if I'm giving a speech or not. I may just wing on the fly that day and just see it and see what comes out of my mouth. But just Tom knows anything can come out, and it's probably going to be hilarious when it comes out because it's going to come out of left field.
As we've seen on this show before,
Things come out of left field. I don't even know what's coming until it comes into my hands. Like, oh, that's not fun. I'm gonna throw it out there.
I'm ready for this. I'm going to pull the camera out. Anyway, hit him with the outro, Chris.
Yeah, so please follow our Facebook page for more updates. Like Tom said, we'll let you guys know when we're recording because we don't know when we're recording. Typically, we figure that thing out like 2 days in advance. So that's all the warning we have. And we give you guys about a 2-hour heads up that we're recording that night. But you also email us at sportsandmore with CT, capital T at gmail.com. If you have any questions or comments regarding the show, some of you are fanatics who have my number. Hit me up and give their opinion sometimes. I know the Jawa is always great with baseball opinions. I know you have Paul hits you up with some of his opinions on the show. So thank you for that, guys. It does help us out when we hear some other opinions besides our own silly, goofy ramblings.
Absolutely. And you can also go to our Anchor page or Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, those weird off-brand podcast sites that we really don't know all of which that they are, or YouTube. All the links, everything is out there. We're going to post them all to Facebook, but you can like, subscribe, share, toggle that notification bell to all. Get that bell on if you want to get updates on our YouTube episodes, which is all of them going forward for the most part. You can go to those podcast sites to download and watch the previous episodes too, because we had about a year's worth of content prior to going to YouTube.
Yeah. Finding a free publisher, guys, to move those from MP3 format to MP4 format is just a pain in the tuchus, guys. That's been the problem we've been having. So sorry about that, folks.
Yeah, it's we're on a budget of 0 right now, and so that's kind of blessing and a curse. So
technology upgrades have been the semi check, so that's why we are able to do YouTube. The semi checks have helped us with technology acquisitions.
That is true. So if anyone out there wants to sponsor a MP3 to MP4 conversion software, let us know. But that's not what we're here for. We're obviously just going to keep pushing this stuff out to you because we like it. And I know that tonight there was a little bit of a more somber tone for the majority of it due to the topic at hand. Something that I feel very strongly about, because it's of my personal interest. And something that I'm familiar with, despite my blanking. My mind really has just kind of been melted this week. with work and life and everything. But please do, if guns are your thing, always follow the four basic rules of safety. Treat every gun that it's loaded. Do not point it at anything you're not willing to destroy. Know your target and what is to the left, right, and beyond it, and keep your finger off the trigger until you're ready to fire. Those are things that you think about, even no matter how experienced you are, and it's always in the back of your mind. So just be safe with whatever you choose to do, whether it's that or anything else. The main thing that I wanted to get across from that is this was a tragic event, isolated from any trend that we have seen. Um, and ultimately it can be combated with proper safety. And so we just encourage you, in any hobby that you have, to um, take proper precautions so that you can come back from it.
Absolutely.
I don't care if you are just, your hobby is taking walks down the street or jumping out of airplanes. We want you to come back from it.
Absolutely. And we would like to thank all of you, probably our tens and tens of people listening to our ridiculous takes and remix on Tom Brady throwing 600 touchdown passes in the NFL regular season. Gosh, that's astounding. The World Series. Yes, I'm doing my best John Candy from the World Series. I'm in the air. And also the very somber note of the Alec Baldwin, Halyna Hutchins situation, and me being forced against my will to have to maybe root for the evil green yellow team, which I will refuse to do so because that's how I am. Come at me.
I know. And I hope the Cardinals do come at you. Anyway, our next episode's creation date is to be decided, as I said, but we will try to continue to keep you posted on Facebook for that update. But until that point, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, and above all, stay free.
Sports and More with Chris and Thom is brought to you by no one. All non-original thoughts and ideas were properly noted during each segment.